Welcome to Kolorflow Conversations, where we flow freely, speak boldly, and connect colorfully. I am Uakeisha, and this is
Tikisha.
And as you can see, we have a special guest with us, Miss Janaya Black. And this is the first time, Janaya, that we've had a guest that I didn't invite. Usually every guest we've invited has been me, and I never share anything about the guests with Tikisha when we invite them, so it's been the same thing.
Okay.
She told me she wanted to invite someone, and she really didn't share anything. I knew your name was Janaya.
And that she did movies.
And that you work with some movies. But other than that, I don't know anything. So I'm so excited to have you here to share in our girl chat.
Well, I'm so happy to be here because I know Tikisha and it's an honor.
Oh, thank you. And here's the thing, like, I normally don't ask questions because I just be like, I'm going to just go with the flow. But Keisha is a bit more inquisitive than I am, so I was really surprised that
I didn't ask any questions.
Didn't ask any questions.
Well, I know you hate when I ask questions.
I do.
Well, listen, yeah. And I did want to kind of have the authentic talk with her, just like with everybody else. But you know me, I'm a question girl. I'll be like, and what happened? And what is this going on? And
I'll be like, girl, I didn't ask. Like,
yeah, so I do be having a lot. But the only thing I do know is that you all worked together previously.
yes, so this is why I had you on. This month is my birth month. Keisha and I had talked about having guests on more often, and I just didn't want to have somebody because I knew them and had a history or they was like my homegirl. I wanted to have a guest that impacted my life. And I don't know if you even know that you played a role in impacting my life.
No.
Yes, a very big role, because when we worked together, we worked at the same company. It wasn't like we worked together, but I am very observant and I always learn from people, and I am a ball of emotions, which I still am today. I've definitely gotten better in the workplace to be able to control it and play the corporate America game. But I was always in awe of how you came to work, you did your job, you left. It was no, like, there was no gossiping. It was no talking about your business. It wasn't even barely of what you're doing this weekend. And we got to a point where we sat next to each other and we got a little bit more personal. So I know that you have two kids, a boy and a girl. So I remember that, and we talked about, a few things, because, during that time I had let my niece move in with me. But I always admired that. And then once I found out that you were producing movies and that you had wrote books, I really was just like, I gotta get like her. I'm black, so I'm gonna say what I always say, black women. I love seeing women prosper, and most definitely women of color. So to see that and me just watch that. And during that time, I was in a really toxic relationship. I remember times where I was sitting at my desk crying, taking breaks, and just all over the place. And I'm just like, I want to be the woman that comes. And even if I don't have my shit together, I'm looking like I got it together.
Yeah.
I still have not mastered that. If we go back to last month, I was wearing the same jogging pants on here every week trying to get it together. Yeah. But I'm a work in progress. And I admit that, but that was why I was just like, I didn't want to just have anybody. I wanted to have somebody that was in my heart that probably didn't even know that they were in my heart.
Well, thank you. Come on. Thank you for sharing.
Yes. So,
you schooled.
Oh, yeah. My bad. My bad.
Yeah, that's so special, Tikisha. Wow.
Because every guest that we've had, it's been more than just somebody sitting here talking.
It has.
And because I know I needed to pull my weight to invite someone, because I always was telling her I ain't invite nobody.
So when you said her name, you never told me that about about her. Then you never knew you had that impact on her?
That. This is my first time that really just touched my heart.
And I even remember when, like, the film festival, because I remember you were saying you was going to that, and I was just like, these are the things that I want to do, step more into my purpose. Mm-hmm. And now I am. But back then, I think I had a clue, like an inkling what it was, but I wasn't fully walking into my purpose. I was still scared, and I still have fear of it. So our little behind the scenes conversation that we have still just warmed my heart today that you are full-fledged stepping into your purpose.
Can I ask you, how many years ago was it that you all worked together?
Pre-pandemic.
Right before 2020.
Okay.
I think I left there in like February of 2020. Mm-hmm.
And can I ask you something, Janaya, since you didn't know that you were impacting my friend like this, and now that's how she introduced you to me, I feel like that's so special that, you didn't even know that you were impacting her. What is it that can make you be authentically who you are and not how she said you didn't go to work and get into gossip? You came and did your job and did your thing and went home. What was it that made you like that? Because at most jobs it's not like that,
and especially in an environment when it's a bunch of women can be very catty.
I think that God has a lot to do with it. Like I'm a very Christ-centered person, so I try to live that out, and not gossiping is part of that. So like just in my work life, I've always been that person, and I'm an introvert by nature. So I sit back and I kind of take things in and study the lay of the land and stuff. And being in corporate America, you come to understand that everybody is not your friend.
Yes.
So I just got to the point where, hey, I'm here to do my job. I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, and I'm gonna go home.
Girl, do you know that you just hit the nail on the head for what we talk about weekly, and that's being Christ-centered, having God first in everything that we do. And I know you don't know anything about me. I'm a pastor's daughter, grew up in church and everything. So one of the things that we have talked about over this last year is, having a relationship and not religion. And your example is showing that you've had a relationship with God for a long time, and you live it out loud, and obviously don't care what people think. about you living out loud like that. So that's like a blessing, because we always talk about being aligned with each other with our relationship with God, but being aligned with other people. And we say align, like fully align, where they like fully surrender and don't care what other people think. So to meet you just now, and that's the first thing that came out of your mouth, like, oh, it's because I'm fully Christ-centered, is like, gave me chills. It did. Because, like I said, I didn't ask anything, and I'm usually the question, like, so what she do?
And the other caveat about this is I really don't know much about her. It's not like she my friend, hey girl, hey, we hanging out. This was just what spoke to my soul just from being around her, just your aura. Mm-hmm. Girl, I love you.
No, that's a blessing. So Tikisha know a little bit, but tell us, like how you came to be Christ-centered like that. Like growing up, did you have a relationship with God? Did your children? I'm sure you're parenting them in a way to bring them up in that way. So tell us how you came to be like that.
I grew up in a Christian home.
Okay.
My parents, was always going to church on Sundays and Sunday school and things of that nature. My parents were strict. And, looking back, it was a good strict because, it was stuff that stayed with me. Like, we had rules. You couldn't just, talk to adults any kind of way. It was a village, like, you get in trouble with school, you getting in trouble at home. And we couldn't stay the night, go to parties and stuff like that. Now that I'm older and I'm a parent, I'm like, okay, this is why, But it's always been the Bible
Mm-hmm.
in my home. But I did not come to really embrace that relationship until 2013, and I was at a job where we could listen to headphones. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to listen to the Bible from start to finish and not be jumping around. So every day when I came into work, I started at Genesis and I would just listen. And it was then that it clicked that the Bible is a cohesive story from start to finish, that it's not just selected stories that were thrown out there to entertain us. And, going to church, people get into a thing where pastor said, or traditions that are passed down. And it wasn't until I started reading the Bible for myself that I really came to understand who God is. And it was from that where my life really started to change, because I've always had a love for God and known that Christ is my Savior, but I never had that relationship to where, okay, this is how I need to walk with Him, to get to know Him, to do the things that I need to do as a woman, a child of God, to, hopefully get to that finish line. So that's where it came in for me.
I wonder if that happens the same way for a lot of us, because Tikisha, that's my story.
Yes.
Like I literally.
And she started last year? Or how long has it been when she started from Genesis reading?
Yeah, I started over, and kind of like you, growing up in the church, they'll say turn to this book, and you turn to that book. So I now know I didn't fully understand like what I was hearing, because I never understood the story from the beginning. So when I fully surrendered, it was like, okay, Keisha, you gotta start from the beginning, because you need to know. And because I like to read books, I ask God for clarity, like give me clarity on what I'm reading so I can understand. And once I started reading, it was like, oh, this is how He want me to live. I was like, oh, this is all. And then when I would read it, I would imagine it like a story, and I would be like, oh, this is like, it reminds me of people in my life. It reminds me of situations that we know about. And so I can relate to you saying that, because when you said I started listening to from the beginning, I'm like, so I feel like a lot of people that we come into contact with, when they fully surrender to Him, it's like, they like, let me start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Let me get from the beginning, because by the time I told Tikisha, girl, something's changing in my life, she had already read the full Bible. Y'all probably didn't even know it worked. She had read the Bible, whole Bible already. But I felt like I was looking in the mirror when you were saying that.
That's what. Y'all ain't gonna have me in here crying. I'm not gonna do it.
Tikisha cried every week.
But no, it's true, because it's like, after doing that, it's like I realized how much we've been lied to. And it's like I've gone through a lot with even my family, because I no longer celebrate holidays. I no longer do certain things. And it's hard to let go of that stuff, because there's so many, great memories attached to it. But it's like when you realize what it really is, I can't do it in good conscience anymore. Because like even with my kids, when I started, really, because like the Christmas tree thing, I stopped doing that when they was young. Because I was like, okay, this and Ezekiel talking about this. I'm sorry, Jeremiah was talking about bolting down the trail. Like, we ain't doing a tree. We can do gifts. And then once I came to greater understanding, I'm like, okay, I'm done. And then my family's looking at me, that aren't believers, they kind of like, okay, she's losing her mind. And, getting my husband to come on board with things. So it's definitely been a process, but, I'm to the point now where I don't care what you think. If it doesn't line up with the word, I'm not going to do it. You can feel how you want to feel about it. And if you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. But at the end of the day, it's what God said. That's all that matters.
If you don't mind sharing, how was that when you say getting your husband on board? Because, I'm single. Every other day, I don't know what I want.
She want to be married one day.
One day, then the next week, I'll be like, I don't never want to be married. I don't never want love in my life. Love hurt.
Yes.
I don't really know what my mood is this week. I guess I must be on the love side since I'm asking.
Listen, the girl be changing every other day. I just said, listen, I don't give my opinion on her and want love and not want love.
You don't.
I don't. I do not, because I believe that you can say what you want and don't want, but whatever God's will is for you is going to happen. So for you to like I think I don't remember if it was this week or last week. You were like every example you've had of love has been kind of painful. So you associate love with pain. I don't, and I've been married and divorced, but I don't associate love with pain. I believe that.
And the unfortunate part about me is I associate it with pain, not even necessarily in romantic, but in
and just whatever
through my family, just
and I just believe. But again, that's like we all have a relationship with God, but all of our relationships are different. So when you tell me that, I listen because I'm not in a place of judgment to say, well, girl, God don't need you. God don't say God. That's not my place to do that. My place is to listen as your friend and pray for you. Okay? And when I pray, and I write my prayers, I say, God, whatever your will is for my friend Tikisha, let it be done and let her see the glory in this. So when she says her husband came on board, I'm not surprised that she has a relationship that is an example of what God can do if he wasn't on board before. So tell us about that so my friend can believe in love. Not
well, my husband and I, we've been married for 29 years. Oh. And he got saved right because we got married when I was 18 years old. And he got saved right before we got married. Like, he didn't grow up in the church or anything like that. So being that he wasn't brought up that way, his walk has been different than mine. And so I try very hard not to shove things down his throat. Mm-hmm. But like we've grown to the point in our relationship where he knows to let me be me and I know to let him be him. And I will talk to him about stuff, but if I see that he's not receiving it, okay, I just pray about it. Like, I pray for my husband all the time. And God did it. It wasn't me. It was just, he would ask me, okay, well, what are you into now? I was like, no, this is what it says. Like, mm-hmm. Can you not see why it's saying that? Because if you're seeing something different, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
And so he finally got to the point, it's like, I can't explain it away, so we're just not going to do it no more.
Mm-hmm. And the interpretations that we all get be different.
Yes, we talk about that all the time because my brain can be very literal on certain things and then other things. My sister sent me something the other day and I was just like, I don't like how that sounds because it sounds like I'm a robot. And she was just like, no, it's telling you to have faith and trust in the Lord. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, don't send me nothing like that because now you got me more stressed out than what I was before. But that's the thing of being able to have those conversations.
Yeah. And
and perception is a...
But when building your relationship with him, it helps me to not, I don't get into those conversations where it's
my way or your...
where you need to understand it how I understand it. Like, her telling me that she don't really celebrate the holidays and stuff no more. The holidays, like we've talked about before, not really important to me. I do it now for family, but the meaning goes deeper to me now than it did before. I still put my tree up because I felt like, because my son was like, let's put the tree up. I was like, all right. I don't take it like, I did something wrong yet. But if God convict me to not do it, I will explain to my kids and we'll understand it. I think they will be understanding because they understand how my life is going now.
Similar to me with covering.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you started covering, think about the people who we didn't say anything. It was just like this. It was
just
how
like, okay,
God
and then it was other people. So you Muslim now?
It was like, well, no, I like, in my understanding, I started covering my head when I pray. Mm-hmm. So I get it.
Yeah, and I was telling her, I was just like, because I feel like, especially as I was saying with being a spiritualist, like I'm almost always praying and just in my thoughts. So I was convicted about covering. Now, recently I haven't been doing it all the time, but it's still...
But that was also during the time where you was...
in my sunken place.
Yes, that was... So when you think...
I was attacked.
When you think about that,
mm-hmm.
When you think about how you kind of allowed the attack to remove you from that.
Yeah.
And again... I don't say nothing. I just be like, all right.
Tikisha Banks.
Right, write her name down on the prayer list. But no, that's what you said, Janaya. That gives some hope to me. Hopefully, for my friend and I, to hear you've been married 29 years, and I assume you're around our age because you see you got married at 18.
19, yep. Right before I turned 19, we got married in February. My birthday's in March.
And what do you attribute being together that long
Right,
to?
because she
other
still
than,
look like she 18.
yeah,
19.
that's all I'm gonna say. Like when you said 29,
you are not in your 40s.
I was very shocked by hearing that many years. So, like, what do you attribute to? I know God is the head of it, but a lot of people like me divorced and married because you married somebody who was in the church, and me being raised. And I tried not to say this in a way that is negative towards how I grew up. But I say it often that, we were taught that a man that was in church was a good man. Mm-hmm. So you end up marrying somebody who you think is I'm not saying you're a bad man or men, but just not for you because, what do you attribute you all being able to stay together that long?
Nothing but God, and we just went into it saying that divorce is not an option. My husband is like the consummate communicator. Like, he's taught me a lot about communication because I was that person where if I get mad, you just need to leave me alone. I don't want to talk. Just let me calm down, and then he's like, no, we can't go to bed angry.
He gonna make you talk.
Yeah, like he would not leave me alone, So, and that taught me a lot about how to communicate better. And, it's a work in progress every day. Like, we still, have our issues, but divorce is not an option. So with that being off the table, what do we need to do to fix it? And we don't even fight a lot, but of course we get on each other's nerves. Mm-hmm. Things do pop up, but it's just like, okay, how can we figure this out? And I think that our communication with one another is the biggest thing that has helped us through the years because,
When you was your parents were married a long time?
My parents got divorced when I was 7, but both my parents had been in their second marriage since I was like 8 or 9.
So you had a good example of the second marriages?
Yes.
Okay. So the divorce didn't really affect how you looked at relationships?
It didn't really affect how I looked at relationships, but I think it affected a lot of my personality traits as far as like how I act now, because coming up I didn't communicate well because I was always trying to hide things because I felt like I had to walk on a tightrope, like when I was with my mom or when I was back with my dad, my stepmom, about what I said because I didn't want anybody to be mad at me. My dad was always like, what goes on in this house stays in this house. Don't be discussing stuff with your mom. Or my mom would be asking me questions, and I was just like, okay, I'm just going to shut down and not say anything. And then I would get migraine headaches. So then, as I got older, it was just like, okay, I'm tired of these headaches. I got to let it out. So, that's just, contributed to how I am now as far as like, I still am this type of person where I only tell people things on a need-to-know basis. I'm very guarded about the conversations that I have. But, and I'm very straightforward with things. Like, I'm not mean, but I don't bite my tongue.
Right. I can respect that.
Which is probably why when she said that you was at work and you kind of was like, you came and did your job and you didn't get involved with menial conversations. You was friendly, but they weren't your friends.
Our workplace was a little different with the conversations anyway. They really did not. They did not want you talking to anybody.
Oh, that place?
Yeah,
I remember that place.
Yes, anyway, but still, I still managed, to build some relationships with people. So it was still possible, even though we were pretty much in solitude, so to speak.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was that place.
Before we got started, I heard you kind of telling her about how you changed your career and you just, can you I want
to
Wait
a minute, girl, surprise had me in a chokehold.
Yes, because you are a movie producer and you went from the mortgage industry to the movie producing?
Well, no, we've been doing movies since 2004.
Oh, wow.
But we always, like, my husband and I do it together, but we always had full-time jobs, and we would use our vacations and things of that nature, or shoot on weekends. Because we started in 2004 doing movies.
Wow.
And the industry here in Detroit just kept expanding, so it's now to a point where people can make a viable living doing it. So my intention was to go into it full-time after our daughter graduated, and she graduated in 2020. So when COVID hit, everything shut down, so we didn't know, if the movie thing was even going to be an option anymore. So then once I left the place where we worked at together, I went back into underwriting because I had like a 20-year career in mortgage. So I hated it, but it paid the bills, and it was a nice check.
Yeah.
So I went back to it and I got comfortable. But then, when the COVID stuff started shifting and doing whatever it was, like, I was never that person. Like, I'm not taking no vaccine. I was always like, I'm not taking no vaccines. I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not. So then when they were like, okay, we want people to come back into the office, because the only reason I went back to mortgage was because my contract was remote. And they decided that they wanted to make people come back into the office for like 3 days a week. And I was like, no. I was like, this is what my contract says. It's like, well, we need, I say, okay, so if I come into the office, I'm not taking any health screenings because A, you're violating my HIPAA rights. And B, I'm not even on your insurance. You shouldn't be asking me about my stuff. And if it's a problem, why are you making me come to the office? So like, yeah, well,
you were standing your ground on everything.
Listen, I just refuse to be bullied. It's just not in my character. Like, I'm like, okay, I'll just deal with the consequences. It is what it is. So they're like, well, we're gonna have to write you up. Okay. If you get 3 write-ups, we're gonna have to terminate you. Okay. So we parted ways, and God has just been opening up doors left and right. So I just think that was His way of telling me
it was
trust
time to
Him,
move.
and that was
Right.
your path
Yeah.
to walk into your purpose.
Because I probably would have just stayed doing it forever because it was
a check.
short money.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is this message for me? Every message be for me.
Not every some be for me too. A lot of them be for me. I mean, it be for both of us in different ways.
Yes, that's true.
Because you and I've been talking about things, and I haven't moved on something that we've talked about, because even doing this podcast, I have been nervous about putting myself out there in front of people. So doing this was new, and it's like baby steps. So the next thing is like, oh, do I want to do that? And I'm a person that believes my faith is large. But when it comes to the public, because I feel like you living your life out loud like that is a show of faith to God, who God is. And
like my faith is mustard seed. But when we started doing this podcast, I never thought about it, because I'm like, I'm just going to be sitting talking to my friend. Whatever. Easy peasy.
And me, I was more like, it's people that know me, that's known me for years, and my daddy being a pastor in the city, that I'm going to be talking about my life and things that I've experienced and growing up, that I feel like I know is a testimony, but I was still nervous. And still sometimes I'll be like, oh, I can't believe I said that. But, how else is somebody going to be helped?
Yeah.
And you sitting here saying, I was doing that, and they told me they was going to write me up, and you was like, all right, so be it. I mean, people.
Because anybody else, I won't say anybody, but there's several people who would have been like, okay, I got to do it.
Yeah, I need this job. Yeah, I need this job. And you like, no, I was like, oh, no, I'm not going to do it. Y'all got to write me up, and I'm going to get fired, and then I'm going to just do my next thing.
Well, I didn't just pop out like that. I've gotten to that point because God has showed me so many times that I got you.
Why do I struggle with standing on that?
It's hard. It's not easy.
That is a big struggle for me, and I struggle with it for me, but for somebody else, I can write a dissertation like, well, he did this for you and this, and I don't understand. I'm throwing you verses, sending a prayer. Myself, I'd be like, Lord.
I know he got me. I don't be worried about that. And I tell you that, be like, girl, I work easy and I don't work hard. I know he got me. But when it's time for me to do the next thing that I know he want me to do, it's like, okay, how do you want me to do this? Because I be worried about how, and I shouldn't worry about how I come off to others. and I think that's part of my issue from growing up, you know, in the church, and they be like, you got to be, as pastor Dora, you have to be prim and proper. Like you said, don't let nobody know your business, what going on in this house, stay here. And, you know, I'm so used to keeping things on the inside. One of the reasons my marriage broke down is because there was no communication. I could keep something held in for years. And when it's time to, you know, when I explode, it's like, oh my God, then I've got a headache, and, you know, but I was never a good communicator. So, you know, that's something that I'm gonna have to work on, because I know it's time to do the next thing. And how do I do that?
But I think a lot of that too comes with us, how we talked about the people pleasing part.
Yeah, because
we're always thinking about the others.
Yeah, when we shouldn't care about the others. When we shouldn't care about the others. You got a big family?
Mm-hmm. I'm the oldest of 5.
You're the oldest of 5.
Mm-hmm.
And so with you making the changes spiritually in your life, and you said, going back to you saying your family, you know, or people, whoever thought, you know, that's probably a little weird. How do you like bring, you know, fellowship with your family, even though they may celebrate the things that you don't celebrate?
I still try to meet them in the middle, I guess. So even though I don't celebrate the holidays, like if I know they're getting together, I might show up after I know all that's done. Just because, you know, I know this is a time where I'll get to see everybody. Mm-hmm. But I'm not there for the gift giving and everything else. I'm going to go give me a plate. I'm not there for, you know.
Yeah. I could see that. How old are your children?
My son is 29. He's 28. My daughter's 22.
And do they share the same belief with you?
Yes.
They do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. You all go to a church together?
We actually don't. I am open to joining an assembly, but just based off of my studies and like my views on things, it's hard for me to go to a church and I know they're still doing things that the Bible condemns. So I'm not opposed to it. It's just finding that place where I could put myself under the leadership of a pastor who is teaching the Bible.
Janaya, I love you. And I'm saying that because
as she's talking in my head, I'm like, Keisha.
Yes,
like
because
you're literally ministering to her soul right now.
you don't understand how much this is confirmation for me, because I struggle with because I've always been the church girl, and now I'm not the church girl, but my relationship with God is stronger than it's ever been. But I know I get criticism, not in my face, but I'm sure it's criticism because I've heard it growing up when somebody stopped going.
Yeah.
So I haven't been a part of an assembly probably since COVID. I remember the last Sunday I went to the church that I was a member of was the Sunday that COVID broke out. It was March 15th. Was that 2020?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I haven't been like a member since then, but my relationship with him and my reading and my studying is showing me, ooh, Jesus will come in here and flip over all these tables, you know. And when I go, because I get invited often, when I go, and I'm trying to say this as carefully as I can, when I go and I say I don't like the theatrics, it's not always just the shouting, and it is, I can feel the energy and the spirit of the leadership on down. And if I believe that, and I'm not getting ministered to the way I think, the way I don't want to say think, the way I believe God wants us. Nobody's talking about how the way God wants us to live. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Nobody's
talking about, and people who's a member will say, well, my pastor, you know, if you can't walk into an assembly and just off the street and you understand what God wants you to do just to get started, then I have issue with that. You know, it'd be so much going on in the beginning that, you know, it can be confusing to people. But I'm like, I believe that my job now is to disciple people the way God wants me to disciple them. Like, you tell them about me and you show them how they're supposed to live. And you can do that because we assembled now, and I feel like this is church. It doesn't have to be on a Sunday morning or Wednesday night or whatever. So separate my mindset from that has been kind of difficult. I struggle with it at times because so many of my family is still, the church building is part of life. When somebody asks me now, what church you go to? I'll be like, I am the church.
Facts.
You know, I am the church. So I don't go into assembly. So listening to you say that to me is confirmation, because how she said your lifestyle has been, and you touched her, and you've been an example for her, and y'all wasn't like buddy, but it was something about you that was like, it's something about her that I love, and I want to talk to her. I want to, and to hear you talk now, because you obviously didn't know none of this.
But it was just, it just was in my spirit. I don't know how, but it was just like, I learned so much from you without you even talking to me, teaching me anything.
Mm-hmm. But you just don't know how much you're saying that blessed my heart. And hearing you say what you said is confirmation for me, because sometimes I do feel alone.
Yeah.
You know, and it's...
And I think we need to know that we're not alone, that there are people like us that love God with all their heart, that don't go to a formal assembly, because the first thing that someone will say is, forsake not to assemble yourself. I had a client tell me or ask me.
She's a makeup artist.
Yes.
Really?
I had a client ask me, well, how are you going to teach your children about God? I'm like, I teach them myself. I'm like, they read, and Tikisha know how my relationship is with them. I'm like, everything that we go through, we teaching, we reading, we're praying, we're, talking. So I'm like, how you think they not gonna know about him? They gonna know through me. When I tell them, oh, I'm having Bible study, I'll call you back. It ain't like, what? This is part of who I am. So you saying that is just confirmation for me that, I'm on the right path. And if we're led to find a place, I believe he's going to find it for us. Yeah. Because I believe now, people always say this is the end of these end days, but I believe he is raising up a generation of people that truly love him. And, he's like, it's not all about that other stuff, y'all. It's time for y'all to be for real with me. And, it ain't about your pastor or
the materials.
Your materials.
And I think that's why a lot of the churches are losing people, because people want to know the Bible and they're not getting fed in the assemblies that they're attending, especially a lot of young people. But like I when I witness to people or just talking to people, I'm like, hey, let's have Bible study. We can jump on Zoom. And when we do it, we're reading what it says and trying to understand it. It's not me talking at you saying, this is what it means. We looking at the Hebrew, trying to line it up with what it really means, and as opposed to us assuming and this, that, and other. So it's been a great experience. It's been a lot of growing, and I'm thankful for the journey.
You all are movie producers, so I'm sure that being in that field and keeping your relationship with God. I don't know what type of movies you all make. I don't know. I've never watched a Tubi movie.
We do family like suspense thrillers and faith-based movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
So
I'm watching now.
Yeah. I'm that person where I'm not going to put my name on anything that I don't want to give account for.
Gotcha.
And so you ain't gonna see no booties and nipples in my movies.
And I think that's why I haven't watched it, because they always had people always made it like every movie was something
no,
raunchy or something.
There's not like profanity and stuff. We don't do that.
Because I even remember I had told her about my son being an artist, and she was just like, yeah, but no cussing in his music. I remember that when we had talked about that. Yeah. But we ain't made it to the no cussing.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know. So I haven't watched, when I changed my life, I haven't watched TV.
She doesn't watch TV.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I don't watch TV a whole lot, but I enjoy making content that people can watch and walk away with a message.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, and and God has blessed you all to make that your career.
Yeah.
See, let me stop being scared.
Yeah, girl.
Scared.
The world is yours. Get out here.
Look, I know you ain't
I'm
talking.
talking.
I know you ain't talking.
I'm talking. I just told you I can do a lot of talking.
No, but he gave you your gifts for a reason.
I tell her all the time she's an author because she writes daily, and the things that she write, I'm like, you came up with this? Like, literally, I can't write like that, but everybody is a different artist in a different way. So I'm like, it's time for us to stop being scared. Janaya has been the example. Janaya has been the example for us because she like, we did that, and me and you be like, should we do this?
Right.
Hey, just try it. I'm not saying quit your job tomorrow and go
Right.
do it, but do it.
Well, but the thing is, I'm blessed. I have my own studio, and God has given me the freedom to do what I want to do. I don't believe He wants us to work hard and be tired and worn out and all of that.
Hate our lives from a job.
Yeah, and to not like our lives from what we do. I believe He's given us in this season for real the opportunity to do. Because like I said, I don't be worried about no bills or nothing. I'm just it's gonna get paid. It's gonna be all right. And just this week we was talking about something. And I was like, girl, we may be talking about something might be broke, but you was like, but we always got what we need. Absolutely.
Yes.
That part, yes.
Absolutely. Ain't Mr. Meal, ain't Mr. Bill.
So that's your confirmation right there. He's going to always make a way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, how like when we talk about reflecting on what God has done last year for 8 months at the job, they put me on part-time. And on part-time is you really on call. So you don't know when you're going to work, when you're not going to work. But that was probably the best time of my entire life. I was at peace the whole time. I ain't had no money, but I wasn't ever worried about no money. Everything that I needed, I had. Food, my house still functioned like I was getting that check. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm back in the job working full time, I'm stressed out. Yeah. Make it make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's not even the job. I don't even know what be going on in my head.
I believe it's because you have a desire to do your own thing.
But I don't have the courage
to step out and do it full time. Yeah. And then, like she said, she's introverted, and you are too. I'm probably the most non-introverted person in the room because I talk to everybody.
Yeah, because I was just like, oh, I already know Keisha gonna come up with 101 questions in 1 second. Like, well, what about this girl, this and this?
Yes. So thank you for being open to all my questions.
Oh, no problem. It's a learned behavior. It's like a switch. You gotta, especially if you're gonna be an entrepreneur, you have to get out and network. You definitely have to talk to people. So it's like a switch for me.
That's what I was going to say. Being in the movie industry and being an introvert, sometimes introverts get the, not bad things. They're just not as personable. You all are more personable to me. So people can take it the wrong way if you're not like all in their face, like, hey, you don't do that. But you do come off as very kind. You know what I mean?
I appreciate that. Now, if you were to see me in another environment, like some people, they might be afraid to approach me because my resting face is a trip.
She does have a resting face.
Really?
I can attest to that. Yes.
Like when I'm focused, like if you were to see me on set, like I'm always kind because I'm that person. Like I feel like everybody should be treated with respect.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm focused and I'm very no nonsense as well. But if you caught me and you didn't know me and I'm in that zone, you might think differently because just my resting face is like, okay, I'm zoned in, I'm focused. But that would be an erroneous, assumption because I am a nice person. But it just depends on, I guess the environment that I'm in and what's going on at the time.
That's funny because your resting face is the same, but you were drawn to her, I wouldn't have imagined you being drawn to somebody who had the same resting face as you.
I think because I know that I have that and that I've been judged for it, and I know my insides that it's just like this, it's just my face, like. I don't know. Like, so I've never really, or I shouldn't say, I try not to judge someone else or make an assumption because of how they look. But I don't know, I still don't know what it was. It was just always your spirit. Like, even, like I said, with us not talking because we moved from buildings. So in the first building, she sat on the other side, whereas I could not even see her. It was just in passing, good morning, boom, bam. But then we sat where we was in the pod together. But again, I just can't thank you enough. So for everybody who wondering about my guest, I wanted to have an intentional guest.
I think you did. You did. And I will say this because last year I invited all the guests. Not that we had a lot of them, but Tikisha was
probably like our fourth. It ain't like
it
just be us.
It just be me and her just sitting talking. But when I initially was like, we gonna invite guests, she was like, yeah, because I ain't gonna invite nobody.
Yeah, I said
but
that. But
when she, said I was like, if she got a guest, it's somebody that really.
And that's exactly how you were. You was just like, okay, like, no questions asked. What day and what time?
Yeah, I was like, what day and what time? But, I was like, I said, if she has a guest, I know how intentional she is. And how intentional we try to be, especially with this, because this is part of our ministry. If you look back from day one to now, when we even look at it, be like, girl, we done grew from the nervousness of the first time we turned on the camera to now.
Girl, with you being a producer, we didn't even have no mics. It was literally like we just did it. Was like, wait a minute, you can't hear us for real. I know.
Yeah, we gotta start somewhere though.
And that's when people be like, oh, I want to do this, but I don't know what to do. We literally just did it.
Yeah, that's why I say when I'm like, okay, it's time for us to step out on the next thing because we know how we literally just did it with this. And sometimes we be thinking we supposed to go viral and be big and this and that. And I just believe that this was part of our ministry where God was like, let people know about me, show your light, and just continue to do ministry. Keep talking.
That's right.
And I always say all the time, like when I go home after the podcast and I listen to it again, it really feeds my soul. And I don't want to be selfish, but I really be like, I don't care about other people. Nobody walk away with it, because every single time we've gotten together, it's fed my spirit where I've just grown spiritually, and as a person where I've just wanted to be better.
Yeah. I don't want to be the same every day. I want to be better. I want to, when I read, because I ain't finished reading by my Bible. I'm in John, so I'm like, and when I read, I be like, oh, this is what he meant. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I just be like, oh, but I get clarity on so much. So I feel like every single Thursday when we get together, I get better, and every single day. Because me and Tikisha, we don't have frivolous conversations. We used to because we've been friends since high school.
We've been friends since high school.
We've been friends since 10th grade.
Okay.
So we've had frivolous conversations through the years, but within the last 2 years, everything we talk about be about God, directed to God, whether it's about family, our kids,
beautiful.
or, I'm glad to have a friend that's on the journey with me.
That's a blessing.
You know what I'm saying?
That's truly a blessing.
You have a husband that's on the journey with you. I think that it's good for us to have somebody on the journey with us, no matter who it is, that you can talk to about these things. Because if I was by myself, I would probably have fallen back by now.
Let me tell you something. When you sent me a text telling me that you had a podcast, I was like,
You were surprised?
I was shocked. I was like, let me go and check this out. I was like, she is really on here looking like she having a good time. I was so happy for you.
Thank you.
Because, I mean, the Tikisha I know, she was always like, we would laugh and stuff, but she was always like, no nonsense. Like, I'm just here
got
to
my
work.
things on.
Right.
I'm here to work and give me my check.
That exactly. So when she said podcast, I was like, right, let me play this immediately. So I'm so happy.
Thank you.
I think it's probably was shocking to most people who know you. Probably like, you about to talk?
Yes.
To the world?
Because really, if we don't have like a closeness, I don't really talk. I normally just sit back and observe and take in what I can. I'm a sponge. But I don't do a lot of talking unless like we like that, so to speak. And to come and talk on a podcast, and I'm very transparent on here about things that I've gone through and like my battles with depression and stuff. But it's been a healing thing for me, and I enjoy it sometimes.
You
Some
don't
days
enjoy all
I
the
be
time?
like,
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't want to do the podcast today. But then when I come and do it, I be like, oh, that was so good. My spirit was so filled. Now I'm going to go home and write 30 pages about the podcast and how good I feel.
And I'll tell you this because our personalities are, I said a couple of weeks ago when we had a guest, I said, we're not alike, but we're aligned. We're nothing alike.
We just both got locks.
Yeah.
I like my hair.
Is that your
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know. I was like, only God knew back in 1991 or whatever, the year we met, that we would be at the place where we are now. Because through the years, we've lost friends, or I ain't say, not lost, not the word, but, you know, friends come and gone, but we've never not been friends. We probably went through spurts where we didn't talk as much or whatever, because I was married, she was having fun, then I was having fun, she was whatever. I don't know.
Did I have fun?
You had a season where you had
I don't
fun.
recall fun.
You had a
Okay,
season where you had fun.
I did.
I was about to say,
I had a season.
you had a season of fun. But, you know, and even still throughout the, you know, whatever personality people thought about me or her, we never thought that about each other. So her resting face never bothered me. My 100 questions never bothered her. Our family intertwined and just, you know, stayed intertwined throughout the years. It was like just like our families kind of mirrored each other, we say. So I'm like, I don't think God does anything by mistake. So he knew, like, if we took the paths that we would take, that we was gonna come to this point. So Tikisha, like, you know, when she get in her sunken place, I'm that friend that I'm gonna listen and pray for her. She know I'm not gonna just say I'm gonna pray for you. I'm gonna pray. When I was going through my divorce, Tikisha was right there. We literally, whatever we went through, I could be saying nothing on the phone and she'll stay on the phone and just listen to the air, and the same thing with her. You know, it was never any judgment about anything. So I'm grateful that, you know, even though we're not alike, that we got that friendship. Because like I said, I couldn't be on this journey. I can't name one person that I could be on this journey with other than her.
You're going to make me cry. But I did my mascara today. It's cute.
It's waterproof.
Look, even though I said, you ain't wore mascara in a month, but no. But yeah, I couldn't be on this journey with anybody else. So when she said that she wanted to invite a guest, I know it's going to be a guest that's going to be intentional, that's going to bring us a message that we both need to hear. You confirm some things for me. I've invited guests to confirm things for her. But you definitely confirmed some things for me today that I'm going to take with me And I feel like, thank you, Lord, for that message.
Yes, thank you. I'm so glad that you accepted the invitation. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'm just honored. I'm just like,
You were surprised?
Especially, yes.
Really? I'm like, girl, listen.
I mean, we haven't talked in years, and she's still in my phone. I'm like, hey, girl.
You just surprised her out the blue, like, I got a podcast, I want you to come.
Well, she sent me, actually,
I had sent it.
was it last year? You
Yeah,
sent
I
me
think I had told her when we
Yeah.
first had started, yeah.
I was like, congratulations. I was,
Mhm.
you know, that's how y'all was surprised. Like, you got a podcast? Like, you talking to people?
Yes, girl.
Yeah, I don't know how much time we had to
We gotta close.
Oh, we got to close. I had 100 more questions. We'll have to have you back one day, Janaya.
I would love to come
I'm
back.
so glad you
Look, I'm
took out the
film
time.
in here. This is nice.
Right. It is nice. I am so grateful that you came and took out the time. I know your schedule's probably very busy to share with us.
Thank you for having me. This has been wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Listen, we want you all to like, listen, subscribe, share. We want you all to check out Janaya Black movies on Tubi. Would it be under like your name?
Yeah, my name, Janaya, last name Black like the color. Our latest release is called Father Dearest on Tubi. But if you just plug in my name, all of my projects should come up.
Okay,
I'll watch that when I go home.
Yes, it's a little crazy, but there's a message in there.
Hey.
There's no profanity.
Hey, I love that. I love that. So look, check out her movies on Tubi. We want you all to like, listen, subscribe, share. Let us know in the comments what you think. And, leave us a positive message. We will see you all next week.